Game one of the day brought us some fireworks. A walk-off winner by Michigan. Jordan Wogu delivered the 2-out, 2 RBI double to the left center field gap. Christian Bullock scored, and Michigan keeps their season alive with win number 39 of the season for them. And now it's on to game 2 of day 2. Another elimination bout, and this one pits the top seed, Indiana, against the number 4 seed, the Golden Gophers of Minnesota. Speaking of the bracket, yesterday the 2 upsets with Iowa and Nebraska winning, so now Indiana and Minnesota play for the right to stay or go home. Back with you from up top at TD Ameritrade Park. Brandon Gaudin, Dane and Hughes, glad to be with you. So here's the deal. Indiana, yes, they lose that game, but they're still the top seed. Minnesota, they ended after midnight last night, so they're coming in 13 hours later, and they have to play that top seed.
Well, fortunately, they did get some sleep. They were here late, but obviously this team has to reel back. They are a team that their backs are against the rope right now. They're playing a very, very tough Hoosiers team that can hit the ball out of the park.
Yeah, Indiana 90 home runs on the season, and you think about the offense for Indiana, it was not there yesterday in that game.
Absolutely not there. The Indiana Hoosiers has to step up. They may have to make some adjustments in the batter's box. They have become accustomed to being able to put the ball out of the park. They're not going to be able to do that here.
Should be a good pitching matchup. Tanner Gordon, you're going to see Sam Thorson for Minnesota, so 2 very experienced pitchers in the center of the diamond.
Yeah, 2 guys that have been game 2 starters throughout this season. They really have to step up. You see the whip for Tanner Gordon. He has not allowed many base runners all season long. 63 strikeouts for Sam Thorson. He's going to have to step up. 5.19 ERA is pretty elevated.
Minnesota will be the visitors on the scoreboard, so Tanner Gordon will start things off as he gets his warm-up tosses going, and the lineup he will be going against looks like this for the Gophers. Mazinga is the table setter at the top of that order.
Yeah, he had a great day. 2 for 4 with 2 singles last night against Nebraska, but you're right, he has to be the table setter today.
And let's check back in downstairs with Scott Pose.
Neither team anticipated being in the elimination bracket this early, and it's a particularly tough test for each team, but for Minnesota in particular, and here's why. Indiana took 2 of 3 in the regular season series, but Indiana's likely playing on after this tournament as they're the regular season champion no matter what happens today. Minnesota has to win out to continue their season and have a chance to get to the NCAA tournament, and they've got to do it against a very talented Indiana team.
Yeah, no question at 26-26. This is a Gopher club that has to have this for any chance of continuing that season. Of course, coming off that great year for John Anderson's crew last year, 44-15, winning their 10th Big Ten tournament title. But a little bit of a different look this year, and of course they've had the pitcher injuries. They've had a lot of different things, a lot of youth to contend with, but they'll try to do better here today against Indiana than they did yesterday in that lopsided defeat to Nebraska. So hope you've taken a deep breath after game 1, had some nice lunch, and now game 2 starts with a first pitch line out to left off the bat of Ben Mazinga and into the glove of Dunham. Speaking of that defense, Dunham out in left, Gorski in center, Richardson in right, and then Bar, Walker, Ashley, and Bradley on the infield, and Ryan Feynman is catching.
Very solid lineup for the Hoosiers. Ryan Feynman, a mainstay behind the plate throughout his career. Matt Gorski in center field. 5-tool guy, can definitely play at the next level. Probably the top pro prospect on this Hoosiers team.
A lot of talent, a lot of pop in that lineup, but as we just showed you the numbers, Indiana struggled to get things going offensively yesterday, as did Minnesota. Of course, a couple of very good pitching performances yesterday too, especially from Iowa, striking out 10 of those Indiana hitters. 1-2 to the batter, Zach Robbie.
In Minnesota, they went up against a buzzsaw to play the late game against a hot Nebraska team, basically in their home field, I should say in their home state. Had a lot of fans, a lot of buzz, a lot of energy for that game. They got back. They got behind very early with those 8 runs by the Huskers in the first 3 innings, but then after that, it was shutdown performance, so they're hoping they can carry some of that momentum in to this game.
Yeah, that bullpen's strong, but the absence of Max Meyer, a big story for Minnesota. As that is out into shallow center, charging is Gorski. So 2 up and 2 down to the top of the first. Tanner Gordon will now deal with the shortstop Jordan Kozicki.
Tanner Gordon has a fastball at 88 to 91, a curveball, slider, and a changeup. But his big thing is control. He's going to be around the zone.
Kozicki put good wood on that one, but fouled down the left field line.
That's why we're seeing some of these early swings by the Gophers so far. They know what they're up against. Don't let a guy that can be around the zone often get ahead of you without getting some quality swings.
0-2. Outfield shifted a little towards left center. You see Gorski over in the gap. And now with 2 strikes, he moves a couple steps over to his left. Tanner Gordon looking for a 1-2-3 first. And that's skied, and it looks like he's going to get that 1-2-3 first. 9 pitches, a fly out to left, a fly out to center, and a fly out to right. Top seed Indiana coming to the plate in the bottom of inning number 1. Drew Ashley to lead things off for Jeff Mercer's club. Gorski and then Lloyd. You kind of get into murderer's row there, don't you, Dana?
Yes, you do. Lloyd has been outstanding throughout this season, but 0 for 4 in this tournament so far. 54 RBIs during the regular season, leads the Big Ten. They need his hot bat in the middle.
So Sam Thorson discussed briefly Max Meyer, the injury he's dealing with, but Thorson getting the start here with that 4-3 record.
You see the big number that pops out to me. Opponents batting 193 against him. He's 4-3 on the season. An interesting little twist, or nuance I should say, for the Golden Gophers. Patrick Fredrickson and Sam Thorson both work primarily from the stretch. So you wonder about their control issues, or maybe some things were flying open. Some of their, the technical part of the pitching simplified by Ty McDevitt and John Anderson. Just kept it simple. He's going to actually start going from the windup. But in the past, he's had some success just being from the stretch.
His first pitch from the windup, outside and low, 93 miles per hour to Drew Ashley. Ashley, the sophomore second baseman. That one hits the corner. As Scott was saying, though, and talked about yesterday, Indiana firmly in, regardless of what happens here. Some great wins on their resume, 36-20 overall and 17-7 in league play. Two-one pitch, right side. McDevitt takes it in foul ground. In addition to McDevitt, here's the rest of the Golden Gophers defensively, with Smith, Mazinga, Bertrand in the outfield. Kozicki, the youngster Robbie up the middle, Wassel over at the hot corner, and Wilson the catcher. a Minnesota team that is fielding 969, which puts them right in the middle of the Big Ten Conference.
And due to some of the firepower that they lost from the 2018 team, they moved guys around. Just shows their versatility and athleticism. Kazuki played in the outfield last year. Mazenga now out in left field. Or center field, played left field last year. A little bit of shifting around. Cole McDevitt has played on the corners, behind the plate.
Gosh, what a strong team that was last year. What a season they had.
So fun to watch, too.
Man, were they ever. The pitching, and obviously Fredrickson, it was a different story for him last year, being named the Conference Pitcher of the Year. And then he had the injury this season that kind of threw everything out of whack, but also their bats last year. I mean, they had a top 10 offense in the country, and this year it hasn't been awful, but they're hitting .256.
Oh, yeah, Terran Valfra at shortstop. Unanimous choice of first team All Big Ten.
Good pitch location there by Sam Thorson. That kind of buckled the knees of Gorski. 2 out.
Thorson has that fastball, and there you see that overhand curveball. Very tough against right-handed batters. You can see the knees buckle right there. Got no chance in that situation.
He knew it. No argument from the center fielder Gorski.
Gorski first team All Big Ten in 2018 as well. So
Thorson lost complete control of that.
Bull Durham right there. Purpose. Just throw it to the backstop, hit the bull.
I was going to say, where it looked like Ricky Vaughn's first couple of pitches in Major League. Just a bit outside. Now the 1-0. 1 ball, 1 strike. Look at this coming right in your living room here.
Matt Lloyd just thankful he's a left-handed batter.
Matt Lloyd with the numbers that you showed earlier, Dan. 286, 16 homers. Tied with his teammate Cole Barr for tops in the Big Ten.
You get a chance to talk with Coach Mercer. He talked about taking over this team, and I don't think we can speak highly enough about maybe some pressure that he felt and still being able to get great production from the Hoosier players, taking over a very solid team left by Chris Lemonis and warranting Coach of the Year in 2019 and getting them to that #1 seed and winning the regular season. Great feats.
Yeah, fantastic job. And as you and Scott were also talking about this last night, and Kevin as well, but how they've kind of done it with a different style than Jeff Mercer, as you're alluding to there, is accustomed to playing and wanting to play. Well, he wants his offense to do a little better than they have been so far here in Omaha, and 2 strikeouts in the bottom of the first. Baseball on BTN is brought to you by Rawlings, proud to be the official baseball of the Big Ten Conference, and also by Diet Dr. Pepper. It's the sweet one. Earlier today, the field being lined to get us set. We saw an exciting one in game #1 with Michigan beating Illinois in walk-off fashion 5-4. And now game #2, which actually started the same way game 1 did, with the first 6 hitters being retired. And now we move on to the second inning, and Eli Wilson the batter. Illinois' Ty Weber went 4 2/3 perfect against Michigan in that first game before giving up a hit. Looked like he and the Illini were going to cruise to a victory, but instead they are headed back to Champaign. That one misses.
Well, Eli Wilson back in the lineup behind the plate, I should say. He's been a mainstay there, but actually had to play some first base when Cole McDevitt went down. Had a finger injury that happened prior to the last series of the regular season. Eli having versatility to be able to play the corner spots of the infield. Very, very good talent behind the plate.
First team all Big Ten. Ended the season on an uptick, reaching in 20 of the last 22 games. And he's got a 2-2 count here in the top of the second. And there he goes down swinging. So the pitch earlier, Gordon kind of lost control of it. He comes back and gets the cleanup hitter.
That's when you'll see he actually comes downhill a little bit better, extending that arm. Good movement on that pitch to get that out. Nice job.
Cole McDevitt batting 5th in the Minnesota order. A couple of times we've seen Gordon release that fastball way high.
Yeah. He's got to extend his arm. Stride out a little bit better.
That's off speed and right in there, 1-1.
It's a healthy mix of pitches. With the 4 pitches he goes, a curveball and a slider. We've seen both. Here's a curveball.
Facing Cole McDevitt, brother Ty is also the former relievers, now the pitching coach. Speaking of pitching, you see Tanner Gordon's speed range there so far, 77 to 89.
It's a good differential right there, 12 miles an hour between the fastball and the off speed. As McDevitt fouls off a pitch. One thing about Gordon is he's had stellar control all season long. In Big Ten play, he struck out 50 guys and only walked 3.
Yeah, that's been his MO, and totals on the year, 86 strikeouts of just the 17 walks in over 80 innings pitched. But that 50-3 number in conference play, impressive. Well, he's worked it full here, so he's a pitch away from a potential walk, but also a potential strikeout. Gordon into the wind. Got him to chase, but he fouls it away, does Cole McDevitt.
A lot of happy faces around the Golden Gopher program with Cole McDevitt being fully healthy for the first time in a long time. Had surgery on both hips, had the finger injury at the end of the season.
And here he's earning a walk. So just as we talked about Tanner Gordon and his great control, that's just his 18th walk in 82 innings pitched this year.
That's just a good at bat by Cole McDevitt. Fouled off a couple of pitches.
But you're right, his health has been a big story and a much needed boost for John Anderson. And now Jack Wassel, redshirt sophomore from Geneva, Illinois, batting. Big cut, nothing to show. It's another guy that John Anderson has been pleased with. Outstanding at third base, and they say that he, through the course of the year, has become a better hitter. Just the 241 average, but getting more consistent toward the end of the season. Couldn't stop his swing.
Going back to what you were saying about he and growing during the season, and that's exactly what you want to see at the end of the season. Some of your talent getting better. They believe he has a lot more in his tank, but he competes, and that's one thing you can't teach a guy. He has to be able to come in and be willing to compete, willing to put in the work, especially at this level.
And he's
Wassel's doing that.
Yeah, and he's a guy they're going to need next year. But he's going down quickly here. Had a quick word for home plate umpire Danny Jimenez before heading to the dugout.
That's a good power fastball from Gordon. See a little bit of late life. Arm side run brings that ball right back into the strike zone. An excellent 2-strike pitch for the second out.
So the inning has gone strikeout, walk, strikeout. And now with McDevitt over at first base, the batter will be Riley Smith. Last 2 years, he sat behind Luke Pedersen, star second baseman. And now Riley Smith finding his way into the outfield a lot this season and left field today.
He's one of the utility guys. You see his numbers, nothing eye-popping, but he's a grinder. John Anderson said, hey, we just need more from him. High expectations with this program. I mean, they have had a lot of success in Minnesota. 38 years for John Anderson.
And they're 26 and 26. If they were to lose this game, they would finish under 500 for just the 3rd time in his 38 seasons as head coach. It's just been a mark of consistency.
Yep. Last year was such a special run. He hosted a regional and went on to Corvallis, lost to a very, very good team in Oregon State.
And the eventual national champs, the Beavers. Richardson over toward the line. He dropped it. He booted it. Running hard all the way from first. McDevitt scores. An error by the right field freshman Richardson, and Minnesota takes advantage. It's 1-0.
We talked about the coaching and John Anderson and what he does to instill the work ethic with his players. As you see the frustration in Richardson's face there. Just lets the ball go, glance off his glove, hustles out to get it. But how about the hustle from Cole McDevitt at first base, full speed. A little bit of a lull between second and third, but full speed, scores easily. Never give up on a play, even at this level. You never know. We've seen some defensive blunders.
And now look at this. Going to put on the brakes at third. Drew Ashley saves a run by diving to stop it. Boy, Riley Smith had rounded third, slipped trying to hustle back after he realized that Ashley was staring straight at him with a baseball.
Excellent effort at second base. Really no play to be had at first. Thought maybe could have came up gunning to third base, anticipating the rounding by Riley Smith. But plays it safe, holds it and calls timeout, runs it into the pitcher. Those extra effort plays, people don't realize how many runs can get saved by infielders stopping the ball or slowing it down before getting to the outfield.
So Riley Smith at third, Will Height at first. That obviously goes as an infield single. Now the 9-hole hitter, Easton Bertrand. Another young guy, a sophomore. 70% of the players on the Minnesota roster are either freshmen or sophomores.
Another bright spot for the Golden Gophers. Bertrand has some power. Wasn't really expected to contribute much here in 2019, but they pulled his red shirt last year, had a few at-bats. He's kind of stepped in. He's done a solid job. Another guy that has a lot more in his tank, and there's some growth opportunity between he and guys like Riley Smith.
He's found a home recently in the 9-hole, awaits the 1-1 pitch, and misses the 88-mile-per-hour offering from Tanner Gordon. But a Grant Richardson error in right allows McDevitt to score, and now Minnesota trying to make it an even bigger inning. 2 down, 1-2 pitch. Called strike outside corner. Bertrand is down. So Gordon actually strikes out the side, but a frustrated Grant Richardson, he had the air and right that allowed Minnesota to break their goose egg. A few of the players from each team the last couple of days kind enough to go out with our camera crew around town, take some fun shots. Went all over the place. And back for game 2 of day 2, an elimination bout between Indiana and Minnesota. Minnesota getting the unearned run to the top of the second. So Indiana working from behind here, 4, 5, 6 due up in their order.
Here you see Elijah Dunham, his numbers, .312 on the season. A grinder in the batter's box. Somewhat of a theme for the Hoosiers, guys that just get it done whatever way possible.
Well, they've done it all year, which is their DNA, with the long ball and not with the batting average. .257 is a batting average, but the 90 home runs to lead the entire country. Dunham has chipped in 7 of those as he fouls that off.
And speaking with Coach Jeff Mercer, he talked about the identity of this team, and it's had to be an adjustment process for him as well as the players. You know, he said they started off the season, they weren't very good defensively. They've had to work. They've gotten better all season long.
But right now they have struck out 3 straight times. Gorski and Lloyd in the first, and now Dunham to start the bottom of the second.
Excellent pitch here. Just a fastball right at the knees, and Dunham knew it.
Keep in mind, Iowa pitchers struck out 10 Indiana batters last night, so already 13 Hoosiers have K'd in this tournament. But back to your point, it is a different style than Jeff Mercer is probably accustomed to playing, but he, as you said, give him credit, has adjusted to what he has in his arsenal.
Well, on April 3rd, they played Wright State, and that's Jeff Mercer's former place where he's been able to see a lot of success. You see the home run numbers there. Indiana still leading the country at 90 home runs. And he recognized, he said, you know what, these guys, these kids nowadays, they need to see things. They're visual. You know, guys your age, you young millennials.
I'm young. I'll take it. That's fouled down the right field side.
No, they just need to see things. So, you know, no matter how much he was preaching, no matter how much he was trying to instill his philosophy, they needed to see it. Well, they got a chance to see a very good, a strong Wright State team on April 3rd. And that's when it clicked. They got beat 17-5. And I'm sure Jeff didn't say, hey, I told you so, but it was kind of one of those reality moments for his roster. Hey, this is what the baseball I'm trying to instill looks like. Now, they may not have that same personnel as he gets another strikeout here.
And another one looking. 3 of the 4 strikeouts in a row here have been of that variety for Sam Thorson.
He's got all of his arsenal working strongly right now. There's that curveball. It's the second right-handed batter that it's buckled. No change in his arm slot, no change in his motion. Very efficient.
Between the 2 pitchers, we've now had 7 straight strikeouts as outs in this ball game. Sam Thorson will try to retire the side as he deals with Scotty Bradley. And speaking of Jeff Mercer's last year at Wright State, he was the Horizon League Coach of the Year last year and now the Big Ten Coach of the Year this season. Heck of a run for him. This ball in the air to right center, so it won't be a strikeout, but it will be a 1-2-3 frame. 6 up and 6 down for Minnesota hurler Sam Thorson. Elephants in the back there, Gophers in the front with Ben Mazinga and Jordan Kazuki. And there is Jordan Kazuki. And there's Ben Mazinga, who will lead us off in the third inning. 1-0 Minnesota. They got the unearned run in the second. First pitch swinging. Should be easy for somebody, and it's going to be the left fielder, Dunham. Both times Mazinga has hit it out to Dunham and left. He's 0 for 2. How come they didn't let us go over to the zoo, by the way? No one invited me. Did you get invited?
Well, I didn't want to tell you.
Oh, joke's on me, huh?
Everyone got invited but you.
Yeah, well, I'll show myself out. Third straight year this has happened. Starting to get awkward. Down the right field line, Richardson had the air earlier. Now that's a fair ball as he cannot make the diving grab. Heading for third, Zach Robbie, and he is in there with a stand-up triple. His first of the season and the first of the career of the freshman from Forest Lake, Minnesota.
Well, excellent effort by Richardson out in right field, but how about this swing? Just gets those arms fully extended, a pitch on the outside part of the plate, exactly where you're supposed to take that pitch. And the effort by Richardson just comes up a little short, but full speed sprint out of the box, easily cruising into third base. I believe that's just the second triple of this tournament by any team.
And now Kazuki, hard hit ball but foul, as he'll try to bring Robbie in. You're right, though, it was a great effort by Richardson. Really nothing he could do.
Right-handed batter and Robbie, slicing away from the right fielder Richardson. Just got to give max effort.
Kazuki fouls it back. With the pull hitter Kazuki, look at your shift there, Dana.
Yeah, we've seen this employed by several teams. Kazuki has a tendency to pull the ball, so they move the second baseman, Ashley, over to the shortstop side of second. But they leave the outfielders intact because Kazuki has shown a propensity to roll over to the left side and fly out to the right side.
But he does what he usually does. He pulls it in the left center field gap. It's going to be an RBI double for Jordan Kazuki. 2-0 Minnesota.
2 consecutive extra base hits for the Golden Gophers. Another excellent job of hustling out of the batter's box by Jordan Kazuki. Just goes down and gets that ball and drives it to left center field.
And he's got his 12th double of the season, hustling all the way and sliding in head first. And now Eli Wilson. Ball bounces in front of Feynman. So the triple by Robbie, the double by Kazuki. And Minnesota taking control of this game in the early stages. Mentioned in the first game, but if you weren't with us, with the top 4 seeds all losing yesterday, it's the first time that that's happened in this current tournament format dating back to 2015. Now, way back in 2005, when it was a 6-team format, excuse me, the bottom seeds won the first 5 games of the tournament, but it's just not an apples to apples comparison. That's off the fist to Cole Barr, and he'll throw it across in time. 2 away. And we were going to have the 5th straight lower seed team win in game 1, but Minnesota came from down, or Michigan rather, came from down 3-0 to get the 5-4 victory.
A lot of excitement in the latter part of that game. Illinois really can't hang their heads. They had a lead, gave it up, quickly got it back, leaned on their all-everything closer, Michigan just won.
This ball is plugged to center field. What a play by Gorski. Had to go straight back, reach up and track it down. It prevents an extra base hit, and it prevents another run. But Kozacki does deliver an RBI double, and Minnesota's up 2-0. Back in Omaha, Indiana coming up in the bottom of the third, and the middleman there, Ryan Feynman, will be due up second in the order. For the Indiana Hoosiers, the top seed, who have seen those bats really be quieted here in Omaha. And through 2 innings, Dana, they haven't had a base runner.
I'm still trying to figure out how these guys are going to these fun places, but they have the mean face on. Are you supposed to have fun at those joints?
I don't know.
It's just about, game face all around town.
We already established that you guys went on these adventures and didn't invite me, so I'm going to plead the fifth. Just,
we want your unbiased opinion.
Just listen. All I'm saying, if you're going to have me back next year, please invite me. Look,
there's some smiles. There we go.
Fun. There you go. Although that looks kind of forced, but they played along. 0-2 pitch coming from Sam Thorson. Got another strikeout. 5 strikeouts through 7 batters.
Thorson working both sides of the plate, elevating his fastball at time. There you see a 4-seam fastball up in the zone. Walker swings right underneath for the first out.
What a start for the right-hander. Ryan Feynman cuts on and misses.
We talked about in the open the need for the Hoosiers to make adjustments in the batter's box. They've hit a lot of home runs, 90 on the season. This is not the park that you can lean on hitting the big fly. Might take choking up. Whatever it takes, it has to get done.
No balls, 2 strikes, and here we go. Little high, but the pitch before this, Feynman was actually trying to call timeout.
He's got his hand up, takes his time getting in the batter's box, has his pre-pitch routine. Got to stay aware.
Count even. You're right, though, and that was another discussion that Kevin and Scott and you were having last night about Indiana adjusting to this park because it's so much different than Bart Kaufman in Bloomington.
Yeah.
And you think about it, they have 20 losses this year, 15 of them away from their home park. They play so well to their strengths in Bloomington.
Well, it's like a launching pad there as well. They can hit the ball out of the park. They know they can do that at that facility, but this is not the park for that.
3-2. That went off the fist, little flare out to Kozacki, no problem, 2 away. Well, and speaking to that, the tournament struggles, although 2 years ago it actually was in Bloomington, but Indiana in their last 9 games in Big Ten tournament play is 2-7.
Yeah. And it's about, and you hate to believe that a team can play so well during the regular season and then be forced to kind of change up their game plan and their approach in postseason play, but that's what it is. That's the reality of the situation for the Hoosiers. And I'm sure as Jeff Mercer kind of gets enveloped into this program and is able to get a lot of the type of recruits that he wants, and not that there's major changes that are needed, but he likes to have a team that's athletic, that can run the bases, put pressure on teams like the teams at Wright State. They got some solid talent now here in Indiana. But every once in a while, you need to have guys that understand their role and understand, poking the ball the opposite way, the flares to get rallies going. Because that long fly, the big home runs, is not necessarily a consistent recipe for extended success.
Well, this is one of those very talented freshmen in Richardson. Even though he made the rare error in right field earlier, he has knocked 9 home runs this season, 34 runs batted in. So if you're looking at guys in the future to replace some of the older players that are going to be moving on, certainly Grant Richardson is at the top of the list. And he earns a walk here. That's the first blemish against the hurdler, Sam Thorson.
It's a good at bat for the bottom of the lineup, and Richardson, surely he wants to try to get things going offensively to make up for that error out in the outfield. Only 2 seniors in the lineup for the Hoosiers. Some good, solid young talent.
Here's the sophomore, Drew Ashley, who popped out back in the first inning. He's 0 for 1. Showed bunt, takes it back 1-0. So Thorson had set 8 down in a row to start the game. Walks Richardson. Now falls behind Ashley. 2 balls, no strikes. Ashley yesterday 2 for 4. And taking there at the knees.
Good solid fastball there.
Two and two. Thorson had a great outing against Indiana earlier this year where he struck out 11. That was on April 27th. That's his career high in strikeouts. He already has 5. He's looking for 6 through 3 innings if he can get Drew Ashley. But he won't get him on that pitch, and the count is full.
That's one of the first times you've seen Thorson take a step around the mound. He works very efficiently. He toes the rubber after each pitch.
And this will be his 50th pitch. Line drive, and that'll drop in front of the left fielder, Riley Smith. Holding at third base, Richardson. They are at the corners with 2 outs.
The runner was moving on the pitch with the 3-2 count and 2 outs. Excellent job by Ashley poking this out into left field. So you see the runner on the move, really no chance for him to score on that hit. Maybe if it's hit a little bit further towards center field, maybe extra base hit for Ashley and scores that run as Ty McDevitt is going to make his way out to the mound to talk to his pitcher.
First test for Sam Thorson, and even though he has the 5 strikeouts through the first 10 hitters, he has had 5 full counts. So that's why the pitch count's already at 50. If you weren't with us for game 1, while we have a moment, what a finish to this one. Michigan down 4-3, bottom of the 9th, 2 outs, runners at the corners, and Jordan Wogu delivers. Christian Bullock, the pinch runner, comes in to score it, and Michigan gets a much-needed win to stay alive here in Omaha. And not many people could have predicted that Illinois would come in here and exit 0-2, but that's exactly what happened.
The Fighting Illini was one of the teams I thought would make a lot of noise in this tournament, maybe make it to the championship or even come away with the chip, but 2 quick games and they're out.
They still have the top RPI at 25. Indiana behind them at 32. Matt Gorski keeping it in front. Wilson has the runners at the corner still. Ashley at first, Richardson at third. That drops right in the zone. 1 ball, 1 strike.
He does have very good command of that curveball. We've seen that buckle several right-handed batters for the Hoosiers.
Matt Gorski, second team All Big Ten after being first team in 2018. He could not hold up. 1-2.
In this situation, Thorson has his whole arsenal available. He can go back to the curveball because Gorski hasn't gotten a quality swing on it, or maybe ramp up a fastball to go inside.
1-2, and the 77-mile-per-hour breaker is fouled off by Gorski. Sam Thorson has thrown at least 3 pitches to every Indiana batter. And he delivers to the 6'4", 200-pound right-handed hitter. But first to check over, Ashley Batt.
A lot of movement by both base runners for the Hoosiers on the base pass, trying to affect Thorson. You see the movement there, and maybe just a split second too late on the pickoff move. If you can get that runner while he's shuffling and dancing, has a good quick move, might be able to steal that out.
Throws over again. Trying to get out of the jam and preserve the 2-0 lead here in the bottom of the 3rd. And preserve that 2-0 lead he will. So he struck out Indiana 11 times back in April. He's already fanned 6 Hoosiers here through 3.
Don't kid with COVID. mHealth Fairview wants you to know that what you do today will affect your family and our community tomorrow. Social distancing helps you avoid contact with those who may be infected with the virus. What can you do? Steer clear of crowds of 10 or more people. Keep a distance of 6 feet between you and others in public spaces. And if possible, work from home. Wash your hands, avoid big groups. Stay home, don't go out. We've all got to do our part.
Minnesota righty Thorson able to wiggle out of a little trouble there in the bottom of the 3rd. Indiana strands him at the corners. And the game stays 2-0. Minnesota with a run in the 2nd that was unearned, then an earned run in the 3rd. Now they bat in the 4th. Jack Wassel, did he go? No, says Jeff Doy down the 3rd base line. Grounder, weakly tapped toward Ashley. A little bit of a wide throw, but Bradley's able to handle it. And 1 out in the top of the 4th. The BTN Big 10K. Go to btnbig10k.com. August 11th, that'll take place at Grant Park in Chicago with the 5K and 10K races, and then the post-race tailgate as well. Don't miss it. Summertime in Chi-Town, nothing better. Downstairs to Riley Smith. A lot of our great crew resides in the Chicago area, including Glenn Hallis, Billy Proctor, who are leading the charge here today under the guidance of Sue Marriott, our coordinating producer, and thanks to them and all of our hardworking men and women who are putting this production together and staying for some long hours this week.
Absolutely. Especially with how high maintenance you are.
Absolutely. There's no question. And, you know, I'll tell you what, when I had my feet up back at the hotel yesterday at 6 o'clock, everything looked so good in high definition. It really looked good. I just want everybody to know that. See, that was me without the glasses and the beard and the Michigan hat. And it was a good setup. Room service. Had butlers coming in one after another, dropping in filet mignon. That one is going to plug the gap in left center field off the bat of Riley Smith. And it's going to be the third extra base hit of the game for Minnesota. They've had a triple and now a pair of doubles.
Thank goodness for Riley Smith getting that hit. I was tired of hearing about your night. Excellent job, great at bat. Just a good balanced swing. Full extension through the zone. A lot of real estate out there in the outfield. Is that your celebration?
No.
Leaving after game 2?
No, no disrespect to Riley Smith, but I could do better. His 8th double of the season.
So we've already addressed you being an umpire, and now you are a player. You throw everybody out.
I can do it all, yeah. Yeah, we were tossing people earlier. Minnesota, though, looking sharp after yesterday where Nebraska pounced on them early. With a 2-0 lead here and looking for more in the top of the 4th. Andrew Wilhite's 1 for 1, and now there's a 1-1 count on the DH.
After yesterday's performance by the Huskers, you have them picked to go deep, don't you? Are you willing to step out?
You gotta like their chances, especially as I mentioned earlier with the support that they get here being an hour away from Lincoln. They sure looked good last night. They looked good in the final series of the season against Michigan. They're playing some good baseball.
Inspired baseball, and part of that is because of missing out on this opportunity last year. Well, Darren Erstad, one of the more intense coaches that you'll see around college baseball. It's personal.
And as you and Scott know much better than me, I mean, it's you get past day 2 and a lot of it is going to rely on your arms and what you've got, how your bullpen is shaping up as Andrew Wilhite goes down on strikes.
You're exactly right. Obviously, it helps if you can stay in the winner side of the bracket. Here you see Gordon executing two-seam fastball. Inside part of the plate.
And that's where, as Scott said earlier, with Michigan, if they can hang around, even though they're in the losers bracket, their arms and the bullpen, they've had just some impressive pitching performances this year. That is going to be fair. Cole Barr across and in time. So a double does not hurt the Indiana Hoosiers. Minnesota strands one up 2-0. Last year's Big Ten tournament champions, the Minnesota Golden Gophers, with a 2-0 lead here in an elimination game. And when they won that last year, they took over the spot from Ohio State and Michigan, 10 all-time tournament titles. And that leads the Big Ten. Ohio State and Michigan with 9, and then Indiana hoping to come out of the losers bracket here and get their 5th. 38th year skipper John Anderson, or as they call him in the Twin Cities, 14. That's the number he wears on his jersey.
I tell you, I love the Big Ten tournament. I love having the top 8 teams here, and in part because all 8 coaches are very personable guys. They engaging. They love to talk baseball. They love to talk about their kids. Give us great information.
And Scott Pose will talk to both coaches next inning. Jeff Mercer, the 33-year-old skipper, going against John Anderson, the 64-year-old skipper for Minnesota. Happy belated birthday, by the way, to John Anderson. 1 week ago today, he turned 64 years of age. I'm sure he's just thrilled that I'm mentioning that.
Happy birthday, Coach. Yeah. Good guy.
He has 1,314 wins, third among all active coaches. Not too shabby.
I never fared well in the Twin Cities in football or baseball. And in part because of that man. He was coaching very, very good Gopher teams, as we're seeing here.
Matt Lloyd walks, and then the ball goes over towards the dugout. So Lloyd at first base here to start the bottom of the fourth for Indiana. Let's see, this one had to hurt.
And this goes off the umpire right there. Eli Wilson can't get over there. Totally away from the intended location. Umpires are tough guys.
It's Danny Jimenez back there calling the balls and strikes. That is a ball, 1-0 to Elijah Dunham, who struck out looking back in the second. So Wilson's going to pop up here and go out and talk to Sam Thorson.
Those two consecutive pitches that were away from the location where Eli was set up. So I'm sure there's some discussion out there just to settle him down just a bit, maybe trying a little too hard. You see Ty McDevitt, former Gopher pitcher.
I mentioned Jeff Mercer's 33. Well, Ty McDevitt's in his mid-20s, so there is a big age gap as Ty McDevitt's staff is going to get going in the bullpen. High and outside, 2-0. The Minnesota bullpen was good last night, but it was too little too late as they were already in the hole to the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
There's J.P. Massey going out.
He pitched well last night, did Massey. In relief of Fredrickson. 6 straight balls, and now 7 straight balls thrown by Sam Thorson. Trying to recollect himself here. 63 pitches thrown. The cleanup hitter Dunham awaits. Taking all the way, but it's nowhere near. Back-to-back walks.
We mentioned the numbers earlier on Thorson. 40 walks on the season coming into this game. 63 strikeouts. So he's had some control issues. But what concerns you here is that those last few pitches are nowhere close to the zone.
Nick Lackney is getting ready in a hurry.
64th pitch coming here.
Cole Barr, the batter. Sophomore from Yorktown, Indiana. He does have one sacrifice all year if he's thinking of laying down a bunt. He is thinking about it. He'll take a strike.
Barr does have some power. He's really improved his defense. He's a guy that can change the game with one swing for sure. 16 home runs on the season.
Jeff Mercer, admittedly not a big sacrifice bunt coach. Indiana only 7 sacrifices all year. Here he's swinging and fouling it back 0-2.
You recognize the personnel you're going against, and Thorson, 2 consecutive off-speed offerings to Barr. Gets him way out in front on that last pitch. 2 quick strikes. You may go with that off speed on the outside part of the plate again.
Barr, ground ball through the left side. Matt Lloyd's going to hold up at third base. And Indiana has him juiced with nobody out in the 4th.
Location missed there against Barr. 2 strikes. cannot give him something this appetizing. It's the curveball, just doesn't get it down in a way like he had the first couple of pitches. Just past the outstretched arm of Kazuki at third base. Good smart base running, no outs. Go 90 feet.
Slow stroll out to the mound for Ty McDevitt. It's also a good sign for Jeff Mercer that Cole Barr put that in play. He's struck out 79 times this year, most in the entire conference, but he avoided a strikeout there, and now Indiana is in business.
This is the Indiana team and the approach that we've seen all season. Yes, they can put the ball out of the park, but they have had tendency to make teams pay for mistakes, and this is the type of lineup that you don't want to do that. That's how Iowa was able to fare well against them. Not many mistakes in that game. Great pitching performance.
So there will be a pitching change. Lackney is coming in for Thorson. Day one recap. Yesterday was the day of upsets. Maryland started things off with a 6-2 win over Illinois. Maxwell Costas, the freshman, for this 13th homer of the season. Then Ohio State would get 2 runs in the 8th inning to knock Michigan down to the losers bracket. 2-1 final in that one, and then Cole McDonald in command. Indiana batters would strike out 10 times against Iowa pitching. And the Hawkeyes, the 8 seed, would upset Indiana. Then in the nightcap, in front of a big crowd that made the trip from Lincoln. Big Ten After Dark Baseball, Nebraska putting up 8 early and cruising to the victory over Minnesota. And that's how we got to our elimination games today. And this is an elimination bout, and Nick Lackney is coming in, Dayton, in relief of Sam Thorson.
Well, this is the role he's been better at, especially as of late. See his numbers, 2.68 ERA with 45 strikeouts and 21 walks. Tall lefty, 88 to 92 with a fastball and a curveball. Change to add to that. He was a starter. He's really settled into this reliever role.
You wonder if something wasn't bothering Sam Thorson as we get a look. A moment ago, athletic trainer taking him into the locker room and out of the dugout to get looked at.
Definitely something you have to be concerned about. He just didn't look like himself. What we saw early in this game, the first couple of innings. His last few offerings to those 2 or 3 batters, way out of the zone.
We documented earlier the injuries that this Minnesota pitching staff has had. Ground ball to first base. Stepping on the bag, McDevitt, but Indiana is on the scoreboard as Matt Lloyd comes across. So it's 2-1.
With the depth at first base by McDevitt, really no chance to get a double play or a play at home with bases loaded. Matt Lloyd at third base as soon as the ball's hit on the ground. Full speed home, especially to the right side.
So runners at second and third, still just 1 out now, and here's Justin Walker. Minnesota bullpen yesterday, 6 1/3, did not give up a hit or a run. First pitch misses to Walker.
Justin Walker, very athletic, shortstop switch hitting. Initially, when Walker stepped into the batter's box, the infield moved in. Now they're moved back into normal depth, conceding another run if Justin can put the ball on the ground.
Good stop by Wilson. Yeah, Indiana with a ball on the ground could tie it up. Hit to the outfield, obviously grab the lead potentially here after getting down 2-0 early.
And you wonder in this situation why the defense would go back to normal depth. Well, when you bring the infield in, it opens up more gaps for ground balls to skirt through to the outfield. So you don't always see teams especially early in the game or midpoint of the game, not to the latter part of the game, employ the infield in positioning.
And here only in the bottom of the fourth. A 2-ball, 1-strike count on Justin Walker. Thorson is now back out there and at the top of the dugout.
Looks like he's rubbing out maybe a potential blister. I don't know if that's nervous energy or frustration.
Chased it, did Justin Walker, 2-2. Sam Thorson, 3+, responsible for the 2 runners on. 2-2. Shadow left. Going out, he can't get it. Kazuki dropped it. And Indiana's tied the game. Dunham scores, it's 2 apiece. Maybe a little miscommunication. Kazuki going out, Riley Smith coming in, and Danon Kazuki kind of alligator armed it a bit.
Yes, he did. This is a tough play, especially with the depth in left field. And the infielders for the Gophers fall asleep after the play, and the runner at second skirts to third, Elijah Dunham. They get the ball into the infield, frustration. Runner's able to skirt home for the second run, but as the ball made its way back to the pitcher in Lackney, the runner at second base, very alert, gets over to third.
So Barr at third, call that an RBI single, no error on the play, and now trying to bunt, Ryan Feynman pushes it foul.
Looks like they gave Justin Walker a hit on that.
And Walker with his 18th run batted into the season. So this ball game has a new look. 1 away, and Feynman now trying to give the Hoosiers, the top seed, the lead. Here's what you talked about, though, with the runner Barr advancing to third. Everyone just fell asleep.
Just fell asleep. You're seeing the third baseman. No one called timeout. You have the luxury. You cannot call timeout if the outfielder has the ball. If an infielder has the ball, you can call timeout. Just a lapse in focus there gets Barr over to third base.
That ball just foul. That was close down the third base line.
It looked like that ball was hit on the fair side of the runner at third base as he went back to the base.
No argument. 1-2 the count. Feynman, that one clearly foul.
Ryan Feynman been a mainstay behind the plate throughout his 4 years with the Hoosiers.
A lot of experience, 184 starts.
Very good defensive catcher.
And now they've got Walker, and they throw it into the outfield. So instead of gunning him down, it's an error, and Indiana grabs the lead as Cole Barr scores to make it 3-2.
Everything was done correctly except for the throw by Cole McDevitt to second base. You want to dish this ball to the shortstop so that he's able to squeeze the runner back to first base and while not allowing the runner at third to score. But with the errant throw, Cole Barr is able to score easily. It's a nice job in base running by Walker, opting to try to get into the pickle and possibly plate the run.
So what an interesting half inning. It's gone walk, walk, single, RBI ground out. That strange single that Kazuki couldn't handle. And then the error as they tried to pick off Walker. And through all of that, Indiana has gone from down 2 to up 1, and now they're searching for more. The 1-2 to Feynman from Lackney, bounces in the dirt.
Well, this is the type of team you cannot make those kind of errors against, especially at the bottom of the lineup.
Another foul ball. Good at bat here from Feynman. Mentioned Feynman and how many starts he has, and you talked about his career. Remember, Mike Matheny, former Major League player, had his son Jake there battling for time against Feynman back in 2017, but Feynman beat him out. Matheny ended up transferring to Missouri. It's been a solid career for the right-handed hitter.
Matheny, a Michigan guy. Great catcher for the Wolverines back in the late 80s, early 90s.
That's the Danon Hughes era.
Yeah, I remember playing against those guys. It was like the catcher conference back then. Dan Wilson, Mike Matheny.
Dan's son Eli is the catcher here. That is to center field. And Ben Mazinga has it for the second out in the bottom of the fourth. And there will be a pinch hitter here. Grant Richardson in the 9 hole will go to the bench. And Indiana will pinch hit. Jake Skrine, grabs it at bat. This will be his first go around at the dish here in Omaha. And he offers it the first pitch, but he fouls it down the third base side, 0-1. Three runs in. Lloyd scored, Dunham scored, Barr scored. Barr with a single, Justin Walker with a single. Changing the complexion of this game. Skrine is 3 of 8 this year as a pinch hitter.
Day one was definitely a learning experience for the Hoosiers. Had a chance to talk to guys around the program coming up to this game and ask, hey, what do you guys have to do? We knew from our perspective they had to make some adjustments in the batter's box. They said, we just got to extend at-bats. We've seen that on multiple occasions today. Good quality at-bats, a lot of foul balls, living for the next pitch. Put the ball in play and good things can happen. Seemed to watch a lot of strikes yesterday from Cole McDonald.
Skrine's going to fly this out to right. Bertrand camps under it for the third out. But Indiana gets 3 runs to take the lead, and we'll talk to their skipper, Jeff Mercer, after this timeout. Indiana went from down 2 to up 1 here, 3-2 onto the 5th, and the Hoosier skipper Jeff Mercer's down in the dugout with Scott.
Coach, your offense was able to scratch to get across a few runs there. What was your approach as the team headed into that inning?
Yeah, we had to make sure we were a little bit excited early and maybe overswing a little bit, and had to get back to settle down and take some under control swings, put some pressure, get him in the zone, and be able to just really extend some at bats.
Well, knowing that your team lives and hits a lot of home runs, do you make an adjustment when you come to a park like this that really doesn't give up that many?
Yeah, we've talked about it. You know, we've tried to live through the line, you know, through head high for the most part of the year, and sometimes those balls ride out. A place like this, you obviously have to make an adjustment, more so in the pitches that you swing at. You have to get into good counts. We have to be able to put pressure with 2 strikes and put as many balls in play as possible. We didn't do that early. We did that there. We were able to push a few runs across.
Thanks a lot for the time, Coach.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Big Ten Coach of the Year Jeff Mercer, and he has a new right fielder, Sam Crail. So it was number 38, Jake Skrine, that pinch hit. And now it is Crail that goes out to play right field. course, remember the error that Grant Richardson had back in the second inning that allowed Minnesota to get the first run of the game. But still, Grant Richardson, that's a big part of the Indiana offensive lineup with 9 home runs and 34 driven in this year.
9 home runs at the 9-hole at that. Definitely has a lot of upside, just a freshman.
And Tanner Gordon now for the first time today is pitching with a lead. Top of the order, Mazinga, Robbie, and Kazuki due up. Over the top of that, 1 and 2.
If you're John Anderson, this is the part of the lineup you want to have up to try to bounce back and get some momentum back. After giving up that 3 spot, Mazinga, a solid tournament thus far, 0 for 2 on this day.
Slices this out to left. Dunham had him played pretty well. That is the 3rd time that Mazinga has hit it out to Dunham. That Minnesota batting average, though, at 255 right now, that would be their lowest since 1965. They hit 256 in 2014, but that's how long it's been since a Minnesota average has been down that far.
I think if you go back to the offseason and you wonder what the major questions were surrounding the Big Ten Conference, I'd say probably round 1 or 2 would be, would Minnesota be able to reload and have the same type of performance consistently on the field as they had in 2018. I mean, you knew they had the big arms coming back, and obviously we've now known that there's been some injuries sustained with Fredrickson and Meyer. But you lost Pedersen, you lost Coffey, you lost Vavra.
But they were picked to win the league by the coaches beginning of the year because of all the firepower and the arms that you're talking about. There's a strike to the batter, Zach Robbie. And I remember when Scott and I had Minnesota, Ohio State a few weeks ago, and John Anderson said, gosh, if we could just get our pitchers healthy, I feel good about our situation in a tournament format, but that never really has been the case. On the ground, Drew Ashley boots it, and he won't throw him out. E4. Second error of the game for Indiana.
There are great opportunities and options when you're able to play a deep second base, but when you're back there, looks like this ball may have bounced right on the lip of the grass, between the dirt and the grass, maybe took a tricky bounce, got right through the wickets by Ashley there. I like to play depth in that middle infield position just because it gives you more range. And that type of ball, you may have to attack it and not allow it to get to that lip.
So the base runner on, Jordan Kazuki. He had an RBI double in the 3rd. And he bats here in the 5th.
Kazuki has gotten some quality swings in this tournament. Just batting .236 on the season, but he has a double early in this game.
The 3 errors between the 2 teams, that's already the most combined through 6 games here in the Big Ten tournament. This one hit well down the left field line. He's going to have another extra base hit. Takes a strange hop. Dunham tracks it down finally, but not before Robbie comes all the way in to tie us at 3. Thirteenth double of the season for Kazuki, 2nd today, and both run producing.
It just seems like the ball as of late especially has been jumping off the bat of Jordan Kazuki, and he takes this middle inside pitch and drives it well past the left fielder Dunham. Really no chance to get the runner at home or Kazuki at second base. Looked like
Robbie
pulled up around third base. Not sure if that's a cramp or a muscle issue. We're going to take a look at it in the dugout.
And we're going to take a look at a new pitcher. Tanner Gordon is getting pulled after an unearned run, ties us at 3 apiece in the top of the 5th. Later tonight on the winner's side of things, Ohio State and Maryland at 6 Eastern, and then Iowa and Nebraska. That at 10 Eastern, 9 Central, right here on BTN and the Fox Sports app. Saw Zach Robbie score. Came up lame at the end, but not sure where this happened, but he just didn't quite run. You see him start to grimace right there, Dana. Not sure what he did.
I'm not sure at all. A long run from first base to get around on that extra base hit, but doesn't seem to be affecting him right now.
And into the game comes Gabe Bierman. What a story. His father unfortunately passed away last Thursday, but then Bierman would come on in the final game of the regular season against Rutgers, throw 3 innings, and Indiana would clinch the regular season title with Bierman on the mound in the very emotional moment when the team dogpiled on top of Gabe Bierman, and now he comes in here in Omaha in the Big Ten tournament.
Great story. Obviously a family atmosphere with his teammates. I always wonder when young men go through different tragedies, how they respond, and where they find solace is usually on their field of play.
See how he can do here in this affair in a tie ball game with a runner at second and 1 out in the top of the 5th. Pitch is high to Eli Wilson, the cleanup hitter. It was a neat moment indeed, though, albeit bittersweet for sure, for Gabe Bierman to celebrate the regular season title with his team after pitching so well those final 3 innings last Saturday against the Scarlet Knights. Ground ball toward the middle and through. Walker couldn't knock it down. Here comes Kazuki. He will score. And into second base goes Eli Wilson, and Minnesota has regained the lead.
This is an excellent job by Eli Wilson. Thought Justin Walker had an opportunity to stop this ball on the infield. If he can maybe get dirty here, keeps that ball on the infield, saves them a run. But watch Eli Wilson never slow down around first base, watches the flight of the ball from the center fielder Gorski, and is able to scamper on to second base. Now another runner in scoring position with less than 2 outs.
Down the right field line, that's going to be trouble off the bat of Cole McDevitt. It's another extra base hit. 5-3 Minnesota. And 4 extra base hits now for the Gophers after having none yesterday in the loss to Nebraska.
Jumping on early pitches in the count, making the defense pay. Good line drive hitting by the Gophers.
So Minnesota gets up 2-0. Indiana comes back. They get a 3 spot in the top of the, or in the bottom of the 4th, and now 3 from Indiana here in the top of the 5th, or Minnesota rather, as the pitch is low to Jack Wassel, who has struck out and grounded out. He's 0 for 2. Last 3 batters have gone double, single, double. I don't know that we're done with the offense yet, though, in this one.
This kind of production is contagious, especially with a lineup like the Gophers. They feed off each other very well.
These bullpens already being tested, and we're not even through the 5th. Ashley, who had the air earlier, no problem with that one. 2 outs.
Bierman is a guy they really think highly of. They think he can be a weekend starter in the future. Hit around here, but definitely has solid upside.
You talked about the talented young faces for Indiana that are going to have to replace some of those older guys, and Bierman certainly one that Jeff Mercer will be relying on. He's pitching now to Riley Smith, who reached on an air back in the 2nd and then doubled in the 4th. Shows bunt, 1-1. Minnesota just 26 of 26 on the season, but they won 8 of 10 coming into the tournament before losing yesterday to Nebraska. And now they've got a 5-3 lead on the #1 seed Indiana. Choking up on the bat, the 1-2 pitch misses, 2-2. Tanner Gordon got into the 5th, could not get out of it. Now Gabe Bierman needs one more strike to get us halfway home, but it won't happen on that pitch. Fouled back.
Much more quality at bats for the Gophers in this game thus far. And as we mentioned in the open, we wondered with the quick turnaround how each of these teams would fare. They're still young. They don't need a lot of sleep.
Well, Minnesota certainly didn't get much. Again, that nightcap last night ended at around 12:20. And then first pitch 13 hours later today. But really, in this tournament format, no matter where you play day 1 to day 2, it's going to feel like short rest, especially as the week wears on. That one misses. Catcher Feynman tried to frame it. Count full.
Well, how it's set up, each team, it's a little bit of a break tomorrow. A little opportunity to sleep in, but you're exactly right. Is that a team mascot?
There's a couple of stuffed animals, and I guess it's not an animal, that's a stuffed person, but there's a stuffed animal over in that Minnesota dugout. 3-2 popped up, backing up Walker, coming in Dunham, and it will be Dunham to squeeze it for the 3rd out. But Minnesota answers Indiana's 3 runs in the bottom of the 4th with 3 of their own in the top of the 5th. Kazaki sliding in, 5-3 Gophers. Bottom of the 5th, Minnesota regaining the lead, so that should make John Anderson happy. He's down there with Scott Pose.
Coach, we knew this was going to be a nip-and-tuck game, but you have to be pleased with the offensive output you saw in that last inning.
Yeah, it was good to see us respond. You know, we had a messy inning last inning, a couple of walks, and make a couple of plays on defense, and it was good to see us respond and get the momentum back on our side.
Well, talking about responding in the big picture, we know that you had a late game last night. What advice do you give the troops as you have a quick turnaround on a game like today?
Well, it's just part of playing in an 8-team tournament, and just try to come here, the team that can bring the most energy and focus for 9 innings, and we're just trying to win 1 inning at a time and see how many innings we can win here.
Thanks a lot, Coach. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
We're going to have to find out what that thing is that they've got over there in the dugout. Scott's got to do some reconnaissance work. He's going to be mad. I just gave him a mission.
Scott, don't steal it. We know how fond you are of stuffed animals.
I mean, that looks like one of those things where you go to the arcade, you spend $100, and you get 200 tickets, and you go, and that's what you get with your 200 tickets.
Must have sentimental value, though. It's a superhero.
Is it? Looks like an anti-superhero. Oh, home half of the 5th, Indiana down by 2 now. This is the top of their order, and Drew Ashley. He's 1 for 2 with a single. Minnesota 5 runs, 7 hits. Indiana 3 runs on 3 hits. Just foul, almost the 4th hit of the game, and that bounces right into the Hoosier fans' hands. Big Ten all-freshman team last year for Ashley. And that one came inside, almost hit him. 3-2. Ashley, who went to the same high school, Memorial down in Evansville, as Don Mattingly, as he grounds it to the shortstop Kazuki, and he is retired, and Drew Ashley is 1 for 3 in this ball game. Brandon Gaudin, Dane and Hughes, Scott Pose with you from TD Ameritrade Park.
I've seen those pictures in a post office somewhere.
I think that those might have been taken by the talented photographer Sue Marriott, whose photography work is known worldwide.
Multi-talented, yes she is.
Matt Gorski struck out in the 1st and in the 6th, or 3rd rather. Now he bats here in the 5th. 1 ball, 1 strike. That's the thing with Indiana. It's been feast or famine this year. They have, coming into this game, 601 strikeouts, and now they're up with the 6 strikeouts here today at 607 as a team. That's most in the Big Ten Conference by a wide margin. Line drive, what a snag by Jack Wassel over at the 3rd base bag. That was sensational.
Great job. Reaction, athleticism. See it right there? Most likely an extra base hit. Creeping on the balls of his feet. Great lateral movement. And there you see Matt Gorski. Really?
That's exactly right. I think that's what was going on in his head. In his mind, he was already at 2nd base. And now here's Matt Lloyd.
Unfortunately, that won't show up positive in the book, but a lot of coaches consider that a positive at-bat. A quality at-bat, a good swing, just finds the leather.
So Wassel with one of the better plays that we've seen so far in Omaha. 2 outs, 1-1 count on the 3-hole hitter Matt Lloyd. Tapped right back to the mound. Lackney jumps up to grab it. Underhand toss to McDevitt, and the Hoosiers go 1-2-3 in the 5th, but it would not have been a 1-2-3 inning if it wasn't for the full extension dive at the hot corner by Jack Wassel. Sixth inning, here we come. 5-3 Minnesota. We've seen some defensive miscues. We've also seen some good defensive plays in this game throughout the tournament so far. Look at some guys that have been flashing the leather from yesterday into today through 6 games of the Big Ten tournament. And that's the most recent one. A Wassel diving grab at third base.
A lot of highlights with the Gophers in there.
Yeah.
All over the field.
And now the Gophers pick up the bats again, where they had 3 runs in the top of the 5th. On the ground, there's a single off the bat of Andrew Wilhite. He's 2 for 3 today. Good production from the 8th slot in the order.
That's just the first inning where the Gophers got the leadoff batter on. Good solid swing just past the outstretched arm of Scotty Bradley at first base. Those are the tough plays for a right-handed first baseman. I have the bottom of the lineup contributing for the Gophers here.
Because for Wilhite, it's just his 14th start of the season, and now he's breaking for second, and that's going to work out perfectly. Back-to-back hits from the 8 and 9 slots in the order. Bertrand's going to try to turn it into a double, and he does. Runners at second and third with nobody out.
Three of the 9 hits for the Gophers are coming by way of the bottom of the lineup. Wilhite with his 2nd hit of the game and now a double. Looked like it was a run and hit situation. Wilhite at first base got a late jump. Got quick pitch just a bit. Cruises into third. Bertrand hustling out of the batter's box. Didn't think that that was going to be a possible double.
He hustled all the way, 9th 2-bagger of the season, and now Ben Mazinga, who is 0 for 3 with 3 flyouts to left field.
Well, Ben Mazinga can poke the ball to all fields, just gotten under it. Very good at hitting the ball to the opposite field. Thought maybe he might drop down a bunt here.
Looks to be swinging away, and then Feynman bluffs a throw down to third. Mazinga at the top of the order takes the 1-1 from Bierman and fouls it back behind home plate, 1-2. So we saw Gordon, now Bierman, and then you see Summer up and loosening for Indiana. Wilhite the single, Bertrand the double. Now Mazinga, 1-2 pitch, high. They will check down because he kind of swung his body. The bat came with him, but he did not go, said Jeff Doy.
Some sportsmanship between he and Feynman behind the plate, but the infield is coming in trying to hold the runner at third base, not allow another run to score for the Gophers. And Mazinga, like I said earlier, opens up the gaps between the infielders if he can get one down on the ground. Especially with the way he hits the ball to left field. There's a huge gap between shortstop and third base. Could play 2 runs.
And Mazinga's been better as the season has gone on. He hit a team best 329 in conference play after struggling at the start of the year. 2-2. Fouls it that way. That's where he has lived, to the opposite field. Speaking of his struggling start, that's another thing John Anderson said was some of the guys last year like Mazinga that were more role players felt like they were trying to do too much at the beginning of the year. You know, and Mazinga was one of those. He said, look, we're not going to be last year's team. We need our own identity. That's when some of those guys settled down. Another foul ball. Good battle here.
What John was talking about is the guys, although they have to carry the load as seniors, they have to still be relaxed, because if they tense up or try too hard, it's counterproductive. And then also you have the younger guys looking at how those guys are preparing, how they're executing, and it can hurt them. Kind of rolls downhill.
Yeah, he referenced Mazinga, Cole McDevitt, Eli Wilson. Swing and a miss. As Mazinga chased one downstairs, it bounced in the dirt. That's a big first out for Gabe Bierman.
With the way that Mazinga continued to foul balls off the third base line, you knew was going to be an off speed down and in that just kind of ate him up.
Frustrated, slams the bench.
Guys, we heard Coach Anderson talk about winning each inning.
It's a ground ball right to the shortstop Walker. That'll score another run though, 6-3. Sorry, Scott, go ahead.
Well, Coach Anderson talks a lot about winning each inning, but he breaks it down to win this pitch. And there's beauty in that statement. And what he means is this: when you're as a hitter at the plate, winning a pitch doesn't necessarily mean getting a hit. He would consider that last ground out by Robbie a win for driving the run in. Sometimes it's as simple as taking a close pitch, working a count, fouling a tough pitch off, but that is considered a win, and it starts to build confidence, but it gets you focused on each pitch and controlling what you can control, and that's kind of the method of operation for the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
This one out to center field, pretty well struck, but again, it's 408 out there, so no problem for Gorski as Kazuki squeezes it. But Minnesota and John Anderson, they tack on another run. They're doubling up the Hoosiers. Now 6-3 Minnesota. And this was what the grounds crew here at TD Ameritrade said earlier. You know, they wanted Kevin Kugler to bring in breakfast burritos this morning, but he did not. So
Selfish. Hashtag selfish.
we'll see the wrath as he shows up to the ballpark for games 3 and 4 today. And Kevin, if you haven't arrived and you're out there watching, gosh, I wouldn't mind a double cheeseburger. That sounds pretty good. While we're taking requests.
No cheese on my burger.
Yeah. Or just Twizzlers like these guys, but Danon is the pickiest eater you'll ever come across. Guy doesn't even like peanut butter. The only person I've ever come across that doesn't eat peanut butter.
No cheese, no peanut butter, no Mexican food.
In fact, at dinner the other night, you asked if there were skins in the mashed potatoes, and when you were told yes, you backed out of those.
Different textures. Bug me.
2-2, big cut for Elijah Dunham. It's all right, we love you anyway.
My consistency is strong, 48 years strong, same stuff.
Consistently picky.
Yeah.
And you called me high maintenance.
I'm not high maintenance, just don't add stuff.
Elijah Dunham.
That's easier.
Comes down swinging, second time he's been a strikeout victim today. Yeah, maybe tonight at Big Ten After Dark they'll get more on your diet.
Every time
I'll let those guys dive into it.
Every time they say Big Ten After Dark, I want to say down, down.
And scene. Tonight at 10 Eastern, Iowa and Nebraska.
I feel like there has to be like theme music for that hashtag. We didn't have any theme music for B1G Big Brunch. How do we supposed to say that?
Big brunch.
Big brunch.
B1G brunch, yeah. No, it's just when the lights go down, that's when the party starts. Cole Barr, 16 home runs this year, batting here for Indiana. All the talk of the powerful Indiana bats, but no home runs yet here in Omaha. Remember in game 1 earlier, though, Michigan, who had the top batting average of the year in the Big Ten Conference, they didn't come alive until late. They were down 3-0, ended up winning 5-4 over Illinois.
If you remember, it all kind of started with a controversial replay, double play that kind of opened up the door for them to extend an inning.
Yeah, Illinois thought they got out of the inning on a 6-4-3 double play. The call was overturned at first. The inning continued, and Michigan would score 3 times. A walk to Cole Barr, 1 on, 1 out. And now it'll be Lackney pitching to Scotty Bradley. Earlier in between one of the innings, it was back in the 3rd. Scotty Bradley was giving a pretty inspired talk to his teammates in the dugout, trying to fire them up. See if he can spark him with his bat here, taking a strike on the outside corner.
And from our perspective, you can really appreciate Scotty Bradley being that leader, that force. As we mentioned earlier, they have 2 seniors. Not that those guys aren't leaders. Just because you're a senior doesn't mean you can be the only leader. Bradley, this means a lot to him, and he's willing to step out and be that guy, be that voice in the dugout.
Another guy whose father was a major league catcher. Dad Scott from 84 to 92 with the Yanks, the White Sox, Seattle, and Cincinnati. Oh, 2 pitch to him, and it's foul tip to stay alive. Danny Jimenez trotting a new baseball out to Nick Lackney.
A lot of movement over at first base by Cole Barr. 4 for 4 on the year with stolen bases. Not sure this is a situation where you would opt to steal down by 3, but if you want to try to kickstart things, you might.
Runner stays put, but he's going to advance as that gets away from Wilson. So Barr in scoring position.
I'm going to credit that wild pitch to Barr at first base. Get enough of the attention from the pitcher. There are times where he loses focus on the matter at hand and going to home plate.
One ball, 2 strikes. Scotty Bradley had an RBI ground out back in the 4th. Chance at another RBI here. And it's kicked off the leg of Zach Robbie. And the runner, Cole Barr, comes in. It's 6-4. So an error on the second baseman, no RBI for Scotty Bradley, but he does bring home the run.
Put the ball in play, good things can happen. Tough play for Robbie. Not sure he would have gotten Scotty Bradley, who runs very well at first base, but in that situation, first and foremost, you have to keep it on the infield to not allow that run to score as easily.
Each team now with 2 errors. So this hasn't been the cleanest defensive effort. In fact, the least clean defensive effort that we've had so far here in Omaha. Walker lifts it out to right field. Bertrand has it for the 2nd out. And now the catcher, Ryan Feynman. Battled through a couple dings this year. Tweaked his left hip in the series against Michigan. Had a lower back issue early in the season. The bumps and bruises of being a catcher at this level. And 3 straight balls from Lackney to Feynman.
Lackney has been pretty solid since stepping into this game. Can't afford to let up at the bottom of the lineup. Don't want to get to Drew Ashley and Gorski with guys in scoring position.
Misses 4 straight. Second walk issued this inning by the Minnesota hurler. And now it's the spot in the order that started out as Grant Richardson, then was Jake Skrine, and now it's Sam Crail.
There's no action in the bullpen for either team, so it's maybe just a stroll. Give time for guys to get going out there.
Indeed, all is quiet as the entire infield comes in to chat around Nick Lackney. But Indiana, who, as I mentioned, has not had success in this tournament as of late. They've lost 7 of their last 9 in this event. Trying to work from behind here in the bottom of the 6th. Let's have a peek at the bracket here in the Big Ten tournament. This is the second elimination game of the day, but this is on the other side of the bracket. Michigan knocking out Illinois. Maryland and Ohio State is our next game at 6 Eastern, 5 Central. Ohio State already here and waiting.
Buckeyes are a fun team to watch. The first game I got to be a part of for the Terrapins this year, they actually are exciting as well.
There's a strike. Yeah, they hit the 2 home runs yesterday. For all the talk of the pop in the Indiana order, it's the Maryland team that's hit the 2 home runs so far here in Omaha.
And those were no doubters. Didn't matter where the wind was blowing.
No balls and a strike. So after the conference on the mound, Lackney has settled down and he's got an 0-2 count on Crail. Sam Crail, the sophomore. Under 10 starts this year. Lifts it in the air to shallow left. So this should close the book on the 6th inning, and it will. Indiana does get a run, however, an unearned run to make it 6-4.
Do you know what the U of M does for you? From farms to breweries and orchards to markets, discover how the University of Minnesota is cultivating a new crop of Minnesota businesses.
Do you know what the U of M does for you? From hooves to hands and paws to possibilities, discover how the University of Minnesota is making medical advances for all Minnesotans.
The Big Ten Baseball Tournament on BTN is brought to you by Meijer, the official home gating headquarters of the Big Ten, and Pizza Ranch, the official pizza of the Big Ten Conference. And SoFi, get your money right. Love their baseball here in Omaha. Home of the College World Series this week, home of the Big Ten Tournament. Game 6 of the event, top of the 7th, Minnesota leading Indiana 6-4. A lot of youngsters out at the park. And Tommy Summer taking over on the mound, the 3rd pitcher of the game for Jeff Mercer's side.
You see his numbers 4 and 3 on the season. 40 strikeouts to 13 walks. Not going to be very overpowering. 86 to 89 fastball, but he has a devastating changeup. Just a 2-pitch guy.
And the first pitch is downstairs at 84 miles per hour to Eli Wilson. Last outing for Summer, May 14th, non-conference action against Louisville. That game went to extras. Indiana would lose it. Prior to that, May 12th against Michigan was his last time that he was on the bump in Big Ten play. but he has the ability to eat up innings. He's gone 6 innings 3 different times this year. 2 balls and a strike.
Just a sophomore. Need that kind of role. We talked about role players before. He's a guy that has assumed a role and really has done a nice job with it.
This ball hit well to left. Going back is Dunham. Still drifting. Goodbye into the bullpen. The catcher, Eli Wilson, with a solo jack, his 5th of the season, and Minnesota is back up 3.
Great at bat for Eli Wilson. Catches a pitch on the inside part of the plate, waist high, and makes them pay.
First home run in Omaha for either one of these 2 teams, and now off the end of the bat, that's out the shallow left. So Dunham had to sprint out to the fence for the Wilson homer. Now he comes in to grab the McDevitt pop out.
There's a good bounce back pitch for Summer. Change up. McDevitt way out in front of it, just pops it into left field for the first out of the inning.
Jack Wassel, 2 ground outs to second, and he's also struck out. Wassel 0 for 3. When there's a home run, you get a shake weight.
You get a high five from the stuffed animals. You get it all.
Those stuffed animals, by the way, they won on the boardwalk in California when they played Long Beach State earlier this year. So when we laughed about maybe they spent $100 in money to get some tickets at the carnival, we weren't too far off.
He's got 2 of them now. He's the gatekeeper, I guess.
Yeah, those are the 2 that they won, and they've had them all season long. I wonder, probably a freshman that's in charge of transporting those around.
Takes a lot of responsibility.
And there is the Gopher.
Is that the Caddyshack Gopher?
I think it is, yes.
Are we really dating ourselves by referencing Caddyshack?
Oh, that's a classic. That's timeless. I think we're safe there. Coming right at you here. Look at this. Hello. Hey, those cameras are expensive, Jack Wassel. You be careful. 3-2 pitch, and Wassel goes down to a knee swinging at it. Second out of the 7th.
Talked about his fastball and his changeup. Right here is that changeup, down and away from the left-handed bat. Very tough to take.
Tommy Summer, he gets on that mound and he gets ready to roll. He just waits for somebody to step in. Riley Smith finally does. First pitch on the outside part of the plate.
Every pitcher has its routine, and he toes the rubber, and this is between, after the strikeout, they hadn't even announced the next batter yet, and he's ready and waiting.
Like, come on, Riley.
Well, he does the same thing each and every pitch. See him toe the rubber. He doesn't get far off the mound or off the rubber between pitches. He'll flail his glove a few times, and then he'll go into his motion.
He gets locked and loaded early.
There you go.
There's the twitch of the glove and the 0-2 pitch. Out to center field. No problem for Gorski. So McDevitt and Wassel and Smith go down in order. But before that, Eli Wilson with his 5th home run of the season. A solo jack to left, and Minnesota's up 7-4. Nebraska fans sporting the sweatshirt from last year when it was held here in Omaha as well, 2018. They'll play Iowa later tonight. Maryland and Ohio State before that at 6 Eastern, 5 Central. But we're not done here. Indiana trails by 3 as we have concluded the 7th inning stretch, and Indiana will try to work from behind with Drew Ashley, the leadoff hitter. Well, if this score holds and Indiana goes 2 and out, they will still be 36 and 21. As we said, they'll be in the NCAA tournament, Dana, for the 8th time. And you can't imagine that no matter where they go, as that one catches a piece of Ashley, that any team in the country is going to be excited to have Indiana in their region.
No, I think this lack of offensive production is short-lived. I mean, teams to the caliber of what the Hoosiers are this year, you can't hold them down very long. A poor showing here at the Big Ten tournament could be that extra boost, incentive, maybe chip on their shoulder that they would need in a regional.
Drew Ashley trying to walk it off. And very unlikely that they would, in a regional, find themselves in a park that's going to play as deep as this one.
Exactly.
Of course, if you get to the College World Series, though, there's no avoiding this ballpark. High fly ball. Kazuki takes it for the first out in the bottom of the 7th. Jeff Mercer looking on. There's got to be some comfort. I asked him before that Rutgers series, I said, there has to be some comfort in knowing that no matter what happens the rest of the way, you're going to be playing in the postseason. And, you know, what's a coach going to say? He said, yeah, but we want to win the title. And they did get the regular season crown. There could be some positive if you're looking on the bright side to going out after 2. You get a lot of rest for those arms heading into the postseason. And I know you'd rather win, but that is kind of the silver lining if there is one.
That's the spin that you have after things unfold.
Right.
Obviously, you can't talk about that now, but you know, there is some disappointment if you're winning the regular season and not doing anything in the tournament.
Though. This was the scene after they did get that final victory to clinch the regular season crown.
I got dizzy watching that.
That was Paulie Milto who had the camera out there. It was like the Blair Witch Project, but a happy ending. Paulie Milto, who threw yesterday. And don't forget, haven't seen Sofrank, who is the Big Ten Pitcher of the Year. He's the 3rd man in this Indiana rotation.
There was some thought that maybe Sofrank would be a guy that would pitch in this game if push came to shove, just because the nature of lose or go home. I mean, win or go home. But at this point, you can grind things out and get some runs. It will save him for tomorrow.
Be curious to see when they do get to the NCAA tournament how Jeff Mercer plays that. Do you move Sofrank up in the rotation, or do you stick with what got you there? 1-2, 2-2.
Yeah, that's a great question, because if you're in a situation kind of like we were talking about with Illinois against Michigan, we wondered, okay, when are they going to bring in Acton in that game? You'd hate to go away and go home without having, you know, your best pitcher or most productive pitcher have an opportunity to toe the bump. But in that situation, if you're 2 and out here and then you go and you're 2 and out in the regional, You never have your pitcher of the year actually get out there and deal.
Called strike. Matt Lloyd goes down as Lackney sets him down in order in the bottom of the 7th. Well, Indiana needs somebody to ring the bell here offensively like Paulie Milto did the other day here in Omaha.
Don't kid with COVID. Preparedness is key, but overbuying cleaning and health supplies puts others at risk. Please don't buy more than you need. What you do today will affect your family and our community tomorrow.
Couple of seats from Old Rosenblatt across the way. Transition in 2011 to TD Ameritrade Park. 7-4 is our score as we start the 8th. The called strike to Andrew Wilhite. He's had a good game in that 8-hole, 2 of 3. Speaking of that Indiana pitching, you know, this is the 6th time in 7 years that they've had a sub-4 ERA. Now today they've been hit a little bit. 5 of the 7 Minnesota runs are earned, but that's a pretty impressive stretch because you often talk about their offense so much, and understandably so, but they've been able to deal it. Grant Sloan warming for Indiana. But right now it's Tommy Summer. The man who's always ready to go. After the wiggle of the mitt, the 2-2 pitch. Pop back our way. That's the closest we've come to getting one. That was on our level, but it went a couple of boxes to our right.
You got to make that play.
You've got a baseball in your hand. You are ready. You're ready for action. You're like Wilhite.
Got my change-up grip. Down and away.
Ooh, up and in. That hit Wilhite. Looked like it hit his shoulder and then maybe came up and hit him right around the helmet area. John Anderson's going to come out and make sure he's okay.
Wilhite did everything correctly. Rolled with that pitch, tried to take it off of the back of his shoulder. But coming from the left-handed pitcher, you can see it just skipped off of his shoulder. Got him right under that ear flap. Not much else he could have done. Just a four-seam fastball that gets away from Summer. Seems to be all right, though.
Yeah, I'm glad he's okay. When that first glance off the shoulder, I thought it caught him pretty good in the face, but it does appear that the helmet protected him. So now Easton Bertrand trying to lay down a bunt. This is a beauty. He's going to reach, and then the throwing error by Cole Barr is going to allow the runners to advance. Second and third with nobody out. Called it a bunt single and then E5 to advance the runners.
I love the effort by Cole Barr at third base, but this is a perfect drag bunt by Bertrand, who runs well. We've seen that in this game right here. Maybe better off for Barr to pump and spin towards second base, trying to catch Wilhite maybe sleeping at second base, but the throwing error, now you got 2 more runners for the Golden Gophers in scoring position with no outs.
And Indiana, .970 fielding percentage throughout the year, but 3 errors now in this game. It's the first time that they've had 3 or more errors since way back on April 14th against the Evansville Aces. New pitcher coming in for Indiana, Grant Sloan, ready to take over. Look at the game summary. Nick Lackney's turned in a pretty solid performance out of that Minnesota bullpen. Tanner Gordon lasted 4 1/3 for Indiana. 11 hits though for Minnesota, just 3 for the Hoosiers. New pitcher for Indiana, 4th hurler of the game. We've seen Gordon, Bierman, Summer, and now Grant Sloan is going to come in there for his 22nd time this season.
Just 21 2/3 innings pitched with 145. Opponents are batting against him. He's been relegated to a role of just like a 1-inning guy for most of this season, but has a plus slider to accompany that mid to upper 80s fastball. But you're right. I believe the story of the game is Indiana's lack of hits. 3 hits on the afternoon. Nothing really imposing. They've been able to capitalize on a couple of miscues by the Golden Gophers. You see the infield positioning in. They're chop down a play at home. They'll hold the runner at third.
Yeah, they can't really afford to get down by any more. Ben Mazinga at the top of the order. He's 0 for 4, 3 flyouts and a strikeout.
Mazinga was in this position earlier. Thought he would try to drop down a bunt.
Here it's chopped, and that will not get the run home. So the drawn in infield works well there. And Mazinga is now 0 for 5.
Good base running, smart base running. That's a play that would easily get Will Hyde out at home. Field in again with the 1 out.
It's Will Hyde at third, Bertrand at second. And now Zach Robbie, whose dad Brian was an All-American infielder at Minnesota, steps up here with a chance to expand this Minnesota lead. Breaking ball from Sloan, 1-0. Robbie himself, this version of the Robbie family, Zach, Forest Lake High School in Forest Lake, Minnesota, was a Mr. Baseball finalist there in the state last year. Now in his freshman campaign, hitting .285 and hitting this one to the second baseman, Ashley. So the drawn in infield works on back-to-back hitters. Mazinga bounces out to short and Robbie to second.
Well done by the defense for the Hoosiers. Now they can go back to their normal positioning and hope that Jordan Kozaki doesn't come through with a clutch 2-out hit.
He had an RBI double in the 3rd and in the 5th, did Jordan Kozaki. That one was right in there, 0-1.
I really like his approach and his swings. He's doesn't have a whole lot of power to put the ball out of the park, but you don't need to here. Does a really nice job of hitting line drives and hard ground balls.
Down the right field side, but well fouled. Another kid with a great story, and we shared this one last year, but Kozaki was recruited as a walk-in on back in 2017. Micah Coffey had an ankle injury, so they put Kozaki in, and he played so well, stayed in the lineup all of last year and all of this season as well.
That's all it takes at times, is guys that have a passion for the game, that work hard, and you give them an opportunity, open the door. It's guys like Kozaki that'll knock it down.
Exact same result here. He took advantage of the opportunity last year. He was the most outstanding player of the Big Ten tournament.
Yep. Terran Vavra leaves the program, graduates, and Kozaki moves over to shortstop.
He's down here 0-2 though, with 2 runners in scoring position. Top of the 8th, 2 out. identical foul balls there. And that's going to precipitate Feynman coming out to talk to Grant Sloan.
I think based on those last couple of swings from Kazuki, you may see a fastball in, try to run it, get some arm side run on the inside part of the plate, or off speed down and away, try to get him out on his front foot.
Another foul ball. So it stays 0-2. He does have the 6th most strikeouts in the league, Kazuki. He's fanned 58 times. Oh, 2 again. Line drive up the ladder to grab it, Kolbar. We saw a great play at third earlier in the game by Minnesota's third baseman, Wassel. This one, a nice effort by Kolbar, and it saves a couple of runs. Keeps it 7-4. Top seeded Indiana, if they don't get their act together, they could be out of here in 2 short games, down 3 runs with 6 outs to work with. Elijah Dunham fouls this down the left field line. 3 give chase. Nobody will get there. Good hustle though by Wassel, Kazuki, and Smith. How about the Gopher bullpen in this tournament so far, Dane? In 10 1/3. 1 hit given up and just 1 run.
We talked about it earlier. There's Ty McDevitt, the pitching coach, former pitcher for the Gophers. He's really done a nice job with this staff, barring those injuries. Still one of the stronger pitching staffs in the Big Ten. But you're right, after that 3rd inning yesterday against the Huskers, shut down, and most of this game shut down as well.
And able to get some more offense here today, certainly. The 7 runs on the 11 hits. Down the left field line, goes over Riley Smith, and he collides into the wall pretty hard. Just kind of lost his footing there at the end. Pops up and hopefully okay. We'll check at his mouth for some blood.
Yeah. Slid awkwardly into the wall. Looked like maybe he thought he was going to be around that curve. Maybe a little further away from that wall than he really was. And right there, lost his footing. Tried to brace himself. You can see his face hitting that padding right there. Seems to be all right.
Called off the athletic training staff. He says he's okay. 2 balls and 2 strikes on the cleanup hitter for Indiana, Elijah Dunham. And he's down on strikes looking. 3rd time today that Dunham has gone down on a strikeout. They asked Riley Smith, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Yep, thumbs up. Go away. I'm not coming out of this ball game." And now Kolbar takes a strike. One of the Indiana Mashers with 16 home runs. He and Matt Lloyd tied for the conference lead in that category. Although Barr only hit 200 in Big Ten play. Dropped his average from above 300 down to 260. And the off-speed pitch fooled him there. Sam Thorson went 3. Ever since then, it's been Lackney. And Nick Lackney works into the wide. Ground ball on a couple of hops. Wassel across and in time. 2 away in the bottom of the 8th.
Second nice play by Wassel. Bang bang play at first base. Umpire got it correct. David Ewell.
David Ewell, Josh Shepis, Jeff Doy, Danny Jimenez, the 4 working as the umpiring crew in this game. Scotty Bradley watching a strike go by, 0-1. So Indiana down to just 4 outs here in Omaha. The regular season Big Ten champions. And they're about to be down to 3 outs here in Omaha. Robbie on to first. And they go down in order in the bottom of the 8th, and we march to the 9th. Overcast skies darkening a little bit to the west here as we go to the top of the 9th. 4-seed Minnesota with a 7-4 lead over the top-seeded Indiana Hoosiers. We had sunshine earlier today, but then it's been mostly overcast from noon on. Catcher Ryan Feynman just got a new mitt. There's a look at the radar with the rain coming in. Hopefully it won't cause any delays, knock on wood.
Is picked up and shifted just slightly.
Yeah, earlier it was blowing right to left, and you're right, now it's swirling a little bit the other direction. Middle part of the Gopher order, Wilson, McDevitt, and Wassel scheduled here. And the reliever is still Grant Sloan for Indiana. Last time up, Wilson hit the solo homer. That was to lead off the 7th inning. Now he bats here in the 9th. He hits this one well. Could it be a 3-hit game? Yes. He's digging for 2. Is he going to try to get 3? No. He's got a single, a homer, and now a double. He's a triple away from the cycle is the catcher Eli Wilson, making Father Dan proud.
You're locked in, you're locked in. Good hands through the zone. Very level swing. Here's the flex for the double.
So a potential insurance run at second base, and the Carnival prize there is smiling. 3 or more hits this year has happened now 4 times for Eli Wilson. He's in scoring position. Cole McDevitt, who had an RBI double back in the 5th, now bats. Minnesota's pounded out 12 hits in this game. Cole McDevitt, as we discussed earlier, the brother of pitching coach Ty McDevitt. Speaking of pitching, Indiana getting some double barrel action up. And Their McDevitt, their dad, Mike, he was a very good quarterback at Mankato State in Minnesota back in the day. And they also had an uncle, Colby, who was a quarterback in the NFL Europe and also in the Arena League. So very athletic bloodline. I'm sitting next to a guy who played for the Kansas City Chiefs. And, well, folks, my career stopped in high school. But we all have different temperaments, talents, and convictions, right?
Quality high school experience.
Oh,
sure.
It was. Oh, it was. Harrison High School in Evansville, Indiana.
Is it a powerhouse in any sport?
Oh, revisionist history, every sport. You better believe it. Cole McDevitt, as that one gets away, but not far enough to advance the runner, Wilson. A few players on the Indiana team, though, are from Evansville, a couple hours south of where the Hoosiers are located in Bloomington. I mentioned one of their players is from a high school at Evansville Memorial, and that's where Don Mattingly played back in the day. Downstairs and out, so the double to Wilson, or by Wilson, now the walk to McDevitt, so 2 on, nobody out in the top of the 9th. I can't get enough of those those prizes that they picked up on their trip to California. That trip to California, though, it's part of what John Anderson likes to do in the non-conference. He wants to play a tough schedule. Their strength of schedule, Dana, is top 15 in the nation, so that's one reason they're 26 and 26.
Always seems to be so as well. And let's face it, in Minnesota, they don't have very many options locally to play, and the weather does not afford them the opportunity to play many home games early, and definitely not in February or March, and even into April. So they have to go south, they have to go west. You're going to play some top, if you're going to go that far, you might as well play some top comp.
Yeah, their first 21 games were away from home. See if Wassel tries to lay down the bunt here to advance the runners. He's 0 for 4. Bunts it foul. That pitch was riding right in on his hands.
That's one of those pitches that looked like it was actually going to hit him if he's able to pull the bat back. You can see a little frustration in his face with himself.
Eight of the 12 hits today for Minnesota, extra base hits. They've had 4 singles, 6 doubles, a triple, and a homer. And now a chance at the sacrifice.
Yep, and having runners on base, obviously you open the door to be able to sacrifice them over in the scoring position. And we're sitting here in the top of the 9th, and the Gophers have had runners left on base in every inning except for 2 in this game. So even scoring 7 runs with the 12 hits and reaching on 3 errors, add in some walks, they've continued to keep their foot on the gas pedal against Indiana all afternoon.
Now Wassel here, down 0-2. He's still going to try to square to bunt. Ball and 2 strikes now. See if he actually goes through with that, how much John Anderson trusts Wassel bunting with 2 strikes.
Well, if he squares around, unless he's going to slash in this situation, which I can't imagine that happening, really trying to sacrifice your at-bat to move the runners over. You just got to get your job done.
He does square, and he does lay it down with 2 strikes. So maybe not the way he drew it up, but the same result. Wilson to third, McDevitt to second, 1 out.
I like that approach. Obviously, there's a luxury because you have a 3-run lead. You don't want to settle on that, especially against a lineup like the Hoosiers that can change things in a few swings. but got confidence in Wassel. They can get the job done. He has confidence in himself. Once the ball fair, moves the runners over.
Seven to 4 Minnesota, and looking for more. Here's Riley Smith. He was a part of that play that scored the first run of the game way back in the second on the pop fly to right where Richardson made the air, and he's hitting it to right field here. This one well struck and over the head of Crail. Both runs will score easily, and it's going to be another extra base hit for Minnesota. A triple for Riley Smith. And that plates two. It is 9-4 now, Minnesota.
This is a tough play for Crail out in right field. Hadn't had much action since he came in to the ball game. Riley Smith drives this full extension. The path taken by Crail wasn't the best one, as you see him stumble after the effort on the fly ball. May have taken a better angle to that ball, especially from the right-handed bat of Smith. It's gonna slice just a little bit towards the right field line. Crail pre-pitch position was relatively shallow, but a nice drive by Smith.
So 2 triples today for Minnesota to go along with the 6 doubles and the home run. And I think we're going to have a pitching change. The action has been going on for a while down there in the Indiana bullpen. This is certainly not the Big Ten tournament that the regular season champions had envisioned. There's the call. Grant Sloan is done. And we'll see the new pitcher after this. There is the weather that is coming in from the west. And we say, stay away, weather. Please stay away. We still got 2 more games here tonight. 9-4 in the 9th of game 2. Alex Franklin will be the 5th Indiana pitcher of this contest. Only thrown 10 2/3 this year, Dana.
Yeah, just a freshman, trying to get him some experience after the Gophers plated those last couple of runs. This latter part of the game, why not get the young arm out there to get some experience? You may have to depend on him in the future. Definitely has some upside. His numbers don't reflect that now, but it's all part of the process. 5.91 ERA on the season.
And he'll be tasked with trying to get Andrew Wilhite, who will be the next batter up for Minnesota in what is now turned into a 9-4 game. Minnesota got up 2-0. Indiana got 3 in the bottom of the 4th to take the lead, and you thought, okay, maybe they're coming to life. But then Minnesota got 3 in the top of the 5th, and they've led ever since. You can tell the weather's moving in because it's getting a little breezier, a little chillier up here in the booth. Last thing John Anderson would want to see at this point with a 5-run lead is a weather delay.
Exactly.
Before this ball game ends. Ready to resume action. Franklin dealing to Wilhite, who has singled twice, been hit by a pitch, and struck out. This is the most runs that Indiana has given up all year to a Big Ten team, and the most that they have surrendered since way back on April 3rd in the game that you talked about, Dana, against Wright State, when Wright State put up 15 on the Hoosiers.
Defense for the Hoosiers playing in. See the 5-run lead for the Golden Gophers.
With that runner at third base, Riley Smith, who had the 2 RBI triple that lifted Grant Sloan from the ball game.
We've seen this happen before in Big Ten tournament play, where the #1 seed gets ousted with 2 quick games. I believe in 2016 when Ohio State beat Iowa for the tournament championship. Minnesota was the #1 seed in that tournament and lost quickly to Iowa and Michigan.
Right you are. Just right off the top of his head.
It comes and goes.
It comes and goes, yeah. 2-2 pitch. Called strike at the knees. Andrew Wilhite didn't like it. Second time today that he's gone down on strikes.
Well, this is a great 2-strike pitch. A little bit low, but too close to take. 4-seam fastball. Downhill action. Nice frame by Feynman behind the plate.
And Wilhite in disbelief. Ninth batter in the order, Bertrand. He's going to chop it foul.
Bertrand having a nice day. 2 for 4. Last 2 at bats. Single and a double.
Yeah, the bottom 2 slots in the order, the bottom 3 slots in the order, incredibly productive. Riley Smith with double and a triple. Wilhite with the 2 hits. And as you said, Bertrand has produced as well. 0-2 here. Looking ahead to the Indiana bottom of the 9th, they will have the bottom 3 in their order due up, 7, 8, 9. Alex Franklin, the reliever, trying to keep that runner at third base. And he will. It will remain a 5-run game. And the top seed Indiana, they need some magic in the bottom of the 9th. Bottom of the 9th, clouds darkening a little bit to the west as we get to 4:20 local time, 5:20 on the East Coast. And Indiana, the #1 seed, losing yesterday to Iowa and down 9-4 to Minnesota here with only 3 outs left in their tournament life. Walker to right field. Bertrand hardly had to move. But as we said, this Indiana team, their baseball is not done. They will certainly be in the NCAA tournament. Just wait to hear their fate.
And in the big picture, Brandon, that's not bad for the conference. I mean, you have a Michigan team by winning today against an Illinois team that has already pretty much secured a spot. Michigan, you'd like to believe they probably secured a spot with that win. Indiana already having a spot as well if someone else wins this tournament. Overall, it's good.
Indiana will be making their 8th NCAA tournament appearance. 6th since 2009. What a run it's been. Indiana, 423 wins since 2008, most in the league. But it doesn't look like they're going to get any wins here in Omaha. 2 up and 2 down so far. And how about the job by Nick Lackney? He's now pitched 5 2/3 out of the bullpen. His longest outing of the year prior to this, 3 2/3.
That's what you need. If you're not going to get the solid starting pitching that you need to have a guy that can come in and be that stopgap. And when things were a little testy in this game, Lackney came in. He's gotten the job done.
Sam Crail, the final hope for Indiana. That means that Gopher bullpen in this tournament has gone 12 innings and given up just 1 hit and 1 run. Not bad. Minnesota trying to get back above 500 at 26 and 26 right now. And they've got Indiana down to their final strike. not what those Hoosiers expected. The Gopher fans love it. They want to stick around for more. 1-2, down and out. Minnesota, the reigning Big Ten tournament champions from a season ago, looking to knock out the regular season champs this year. Now the count full, 3-2. John Anderson, always stoic over there. Payoff pitch. Line foul. Two more games still to come, so stay tuned. This is game number 2. Minnesota trying to put the finishing touches on it. And that'll do it. Called strike 3. And the regular season champions go 2 in barbecue in Omaha. They lost yesterday to Iowa, and today they are ousted by Minnesota 9-4 as the Gophers pound out 13 hits and cruise past top-seeded Indiana. And what a job by Nick Lackney out of the bullpen as he goes the final 5 2/3 and ends it with a strikeout of Sam Crail.
You can't say enough about Lackney's performance. 6 innings, 1 hit, 4 strikeouts. He gets the job done.
Job done indeed, and you're right, 6 innings for Lackney. 5 2/3 before that at bat with Crail. 90 pitches thrown for the lefty.
Senior didn't want his season to end this quickly.
And they got this ball game done just in the nick of time with the weather that we saw supposedly moving in from the west. They're already going to roll the tarp out here with that rain coming in. So 2 teams have gone home, Indiana and Illinois. Now both will be playing in the NCAA tournament, but they are done here in Omaha. And you've got Iowa and Nebraska late tonight. Minnesota advances to play tomorrow night at 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central. Eli Wilson, the Minnesota catcher, is down with Scott Pose.
Eli, we'll talk about your defense in a second, but how about stepping into the 4-hole and stepping up big once again, coming in big with a home run?
Yeah, just trying to get pitches to hit. You know, we had guys putting pressure on their pitchers all day, guys getting on base, scrapping their way on base. So I was fortunate to get a pitch to hit there and put a good swing on it.
We've been putting some good swings on it lately. What's it feel like at the plate, and how important was it for you in this game to produce like that?
Yeah, it's been it was good. I've been a little bit of a scuffle the last few weeks, so just seeing the ball get through the infield and drop it in for hits, I can help your confidence big time. And going into the last few games of the tournament here, that's going to be big.
Thanks a lot, Eli. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Eli Wilson. RBI single, solo homer, the double. Part of that big offensive output for Minnesota. And the grounds crew working hard, trying to get the field covered now before the rain comes in. All right, Scott is now with that great reliever, Nick Lackney.
Nick, you had the longest outing of the year. How important was it for you to step in and fill a big void for this pitching staff?
I mean, I was coming in, I wanted to pick up where we left off last year, and obviously we lost some big arms last year. I knew we had a lot of good young arms this year, and especially coming into tournament time, and we want every arm we can have coming down the stretch here, so I was willing to go as far as I needed to, whether that meant I was giving up runs or not. So I was just hoping I could give my best for my teammates. My teammates picked me up in the field, and clearly the bats got hot. So
they got hot, but also this bullpen has done an outstanding job against really good offensive teams, especially today. What was working for you?
I just had to grind through it. I talked with my pitching coach, and then Eli after, I think it was that 3rd inning I was out there. Things were a little inconsistent out there, so we just kind of worked on getting more drive with my lower half, and then the consistency started coming. So just had to grind through it and make just enough good pitches, and that's kind of what we did here today. So.
Well, how important is this win when you have the mindset of just one more day and you look to win each inning, but then you move on?
it's just short memory. Just keep going, keep playing. So that's what we did, and I think we played a lot looser than we did yesterday. So.
Well, congratulations on the win, Nick. Nice job.
Thank you.
Back to you, Brandon.
Yeah, that Minnesota bullpen now, Scott, 12 1/3 pitched in this tournament, and they've only given up 1 hit. And they knock out Indiana. So that'll wrap it up for Game 2 of Thursday in the Big Ten Tournament. 9-4 the score. Gophers over the Hoosiers. We'll have Game 3 coming up. Stay tuned. For Dana Hughes, Scott Hose, and our entire crew, I'm Brandon Gaudin saying so long for now from TD Ameritrade Park in Omaha.
Thank you.